What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy GuyPandemonium, bringing you a first in the quick honest reviews in a new series that'll be starting on the channel. Today we're going to be starting with Skull and Bones for the first one. During these quick honest reviews, we're going to hit on 5 main topics. 1 being what the game is versus what it was showcased as. 2 being a storyline versus the total objective of the game. 3, how much content is there at release? Any thoughts on future content or changes? 4, overall performance, whether it's the server stability, controls, graphics, just the overall feel while playing the game. And then kind of a brief wrap-up, summary, conclusion, and kind of a general overview with where we're at, as a whole with the game, kind of our thoughts and feelings on it and its price point. So as you can see, kind of already kind of skipping ahead here, as far as, content at release versus where they're at, they are definitely putting some cosmetics in here, and they are actually doing some other event changes in the game itself as well. So it does look like Ubisoft is pursuing this to actually grow and expand and add future content to the game and not just let it die within the first couple months. So starting off, what the game is versus what it was showcased as. I know a lot of people had the misconception that this was going to be an Assassin's Creed Brotherhood type game. Looking at it, I can understand from the trailer, kind of how people would get that assumption. However, looking at it more, they never really showcase you being on land and really doing anything other than walking around. They showed a lot of ships sailing, you being down here on your deck with your crews looking, or you being up in the crow's nest, spyglassing, seeing where ships could be. Kind of just an overall pirate experience, not necessarily an Assassin's Creed feel like Black Flag, where you had the land combat, you had your basic Assassin's Creed with great ship combat. So that's what kind of wanted to get that out in the open. A lot of people thought it was going to be Black Flag. They didn't showcase it as that. To me, they showcase it as an open world pirate game. You have a ship, you build a ship, you customize a ship, and you sail around the world. And you sink other boats, get into fights. You can do PvP, you can do PvE, you can do contracts, you can do bounties, you can do all sorts of things. So I don't think they necessarily showcase something different than what they delivered. So on that point, I'm going to leave that open to debate with how everyone interpreted what the trailer showed versus what they actually gave us. Going into number 2, the storyline of the game. There's a storyline. I really wouldn't call it a storyline. It's more of like a bunch of main objectives you do that kind of build into a storyline here. Nothing too crazy. Main objective is just kind of become Conqueror of the Seas. You'll have contracts here. If I go to my journal, you can see all different types of missions and things to do as you progress throughout the game. So they're all missions, they're objectives, There's not necessarily a story per se. However, if you listen into the dialogue during your missions, it makes somewhat of a storyline with the mission. Now, moving on, how much content at the beginning of the game versus where the game's at now. So in the very beginning, there wasn't a whole lot other than, hey, here's your ship, build it, there's a brief storyline, here's some missions, and, there's a bounty board for some higher difficulty targets and ships to sink. That was more or less the gist of it until you hit the Kingpin level, which if you see over here at your captaincy log, you can see where you get there. Once you unlock your Kingpin level, you'll then unlock something called the Helm, which gives you a whole new set of missions to do, assaults and attacks, and plundering and takeovers, which allow you to generate a different type of currency in the game. However, it's still kind of the same premise. Here's a mission, go do it, get a reward, get some loot, do this. They tried to make it a little bit, more intuitive as far as giving you the ability to grind currency, while you're not necessarily on the system or while you're not present with the game, by allowing you to capture these places, by overtaking them, and then using it to fulfill what resources you need, what commodities you needed to sell and do more, what's the word I'm looking for here? More missions, more gold, get more currency of what you needed. So they added a few things for the late game, but that's really the only difference once you hit Kingpin, is you get access to this one real miniature thing of contracts and, some other missions. So, thoughts on future content? They could expand on PvP a little bit. Right now, in order to do PvP, you have to turn your PvP flag on, which mine is off currently. You can change it at any of the ports that you go to. You can change it anywhere you'd like. So, PvP, I'm not the fondest of. I don't have that many hours to sink into a game. So, there's always people that are going to have much better items than you. So, it's kind of just picking on people that are lower than you to an extent. And if you're playing solo, you almost have no chance, given they do have repair weapons in the game as well. So, there's a lot, that goes into the PvP element that I'm just not 100% comfortable with, going in solo and attempting, especially when you don't get to play maybe an hour or two a day. You'll never get to the point where you can play against some of these guys that are sinking 5-6 hours a day into it. Which brings me to another thing they have in the content, which are monstrous tooths. You can get these by hunting down and killing giant sea monsters, which you can only get one a day. Little silly if you ask me, but I understand they don't want people to monotonously just grind out these teeth, even though they do trade in for higher level blueprints, weapons, items, stuff like that for your ship. They require several hundred, if I'm not mistaken, at the time of the video, to unlock. So you'd have to pretty much grind it out every day and buy it off of other people. So other than that, future content, I think they could make the player social menu a little bit more user friendly. I know a lot of people have their content set to close, so you really don't get to experience what it's like sailing around with people right now. The looking for group post on Xbox looks more like a trading post than anything, which is not something I was surprised at looking at kind of some of these weapons and items that you can build on and use. So not 100% shocked by that. So I think they can make some updates to the multiplayer aspect to really kind of help out new players getting in with other people. That doesn't happen very often. That kind of just shocked me there for a second. However, I think they're going to keep moving on with this game. I think they're going to keep doing some things here to make it better. I don't think it's going to die anytime soon. So, another thing they could always throw in, if you're listening to me, Ubisoft, which I highly doubt, is whenever you have a bunch of loot on the ground or in an area, you can't select what you want to pick up. You have to kind of pick it all up just to get to whatever item is you truly want. So, not a whole lot on that forefront. As far as a conclusion and general overview, looking at the graphics of the game, they're not bad. I think they could be a little bit better, given how long the game was in production. I know they're not on Unreal Engine 5, I don't believe. So, kind of explains it a little bit. However, the graphics are not bad. I'll give them a solid 8 out of 10. Obviously when you're far away, some of the islands don't render in, so it doesn't look all the best. But then as you get closer, things start to render in, and it actually doesn't look all too terrible. The sailing, the combat feels very fluid. It doesn't feel clunky, like I'm tripping over buttons or spamming the same button over and over and over, other than A and B to kind of control the ship speed back and forth with furling and unfurling the sails. So when it comes to the controls aspect of it, I think they did a very good job with that, other than your wide button on the Xbox controller. It kind of is your main thing to loot everything, in a sense. So you kind of have to, like I said earlier, loot everything in order to get the one item you want, and then you have to throw it all back into the jettison. Other than that, ship combat, I think, is pretty good. They need to probably revamp how quick it takes to get some items versus others. But, I digress. It's kind of where they're at right now, and they're working on it, it seems. I know they've changed some items here and there, so we'll see how they progress with that. Server stability has been pretty stable. I know they had an article that it's hit the lowest player count ever, so that probably is why the servers are a little bit more stable than anything. The game performs pretty smooth. I haven't had any bugs or crashes or freezes. I haven't really noticed any screen tearing, other than yesterday I think I had my ship and 6 or 7 other ships, all the brig-sized ship kind of shooting into each other. It kind of got a little wild. Other than that, I think the game does what it was supposed to be, what it was intended to be. I think it does a good job. It doesn't really shy away from what it was, shouldn't be something different. I think, there's some things they could do. The trading menu's not all too well with it. I think for 70 bucks, I'd give it a pass and, wait for around that $40-$45 mark and kind of see where things go. Future content they are definitely adding. This is, a game that I think they got out even though they worked on it for 8 years or whatever it was. I think they got it out the door because they finally needed to get out the door. And I think they have the opportunity to really kind of come in and make it a little bit more entertaining. I mean, they could probably come in. They have the islands. They've got plenty of things going on the islands. I think they could come in and do something with the third person here, with your person running around on land, other than digging up buried treasure, that you find from message in the bottles and other various things. I think they could take the land part aspect of it a little further, but they never really showcased it that much to begin with. So it's kind of hard to critique them on that. But overall, I think 40 bucks you can't go wrong with it, and it's a pretty decent, set of missions. Even though they are kind of sale here, do this, sale there, do that. The trading between all the outposts and merchants is kind of subpar in my opinion. I think they could have done better. The crafting is decent. The cosmetics are decent. They're adding more and more, especially with the new smuggler pass that they just put in. So, now they have another ship that you can get from, getting 45 of your battle pass points, or plunder pass points, I should say, which their marks are pretty easy to earn by doing challenges. The only thing I don't like about it is once you buy into it, then you have the ability to start unlocking weapons that, you won't unlock unless if you purchase or buy into the actual season pass. And some of these weapons are actually pretty decent. So that kind of upsets me a little bit. But as you can see, they're definitely trying. They're sending out more and more cosmetic updates. They've done some gameplay updates, so we'll see how it goes. All in all, I give the game a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's anything different than what they tried to showcase. I think they pretty much gave what they were saying they were going to give. As far as graphics, I'd give them another solid 7 out of 10. The rendering distance is pretty bad, so I'd probably say because of that, make it a 6 out of 10. The controls, the combat, how everything flows with your character, I'd give that probably an 8 or 9 out of 10. Honestly, the controls aren't too terrible. They have, I think the Y button is overused when it comes to looting and doing some things here and there. But other than that, it feels like a pretty decent game. If you like pirate games and you like ship combat only pirate games, then this game is going to be for you. There is some strategy to it, just based off of your ship with the different weapons you can have that do all different types of status effects, armor that will, different status effects as well. To kind of change how you play the game a little bit. They have furniture as well to give you some extra stats here and there on a few things. Cosmetics, they're working on it. So, overall, I think the game's in a pretty decent state right now to play. I would say 40 bucks at most right now, and that's just me being kind of honest with you guys. I think 40 bucks is a decent price point for the amount of content they have into it right now, the amount of cosmetics they have that looks like they're actually trying to shove some new stuff out. They actually just added a new ghost event, which is kind of cool. I think anyone that likes pirates, open world, ship combat, I think they would like this game. It plays a lot faster than you would think during the ship combat. It's not as slow as you would imagine. So yeah, that's honest review, guys. Let me know down in the comments below if there's anything you'd like for me to add to the next video. If you want me to go a little bit more in depth, I tried to keep the video relatively short here. I know it's still at 15 minutes almost. But yeah, feel free to start a discussion down below. Was it what you thought it would be? Was it as good as you thought it would be? Kind of what your concerns were. And, if you're going to bash the game, give a reason for it. Was it the graphics? Was it the content? Was it the controls? Was it the fact you really couldn't get on and play with your buddies and, start and do what you really wanted to do? There's a lot of different things it could have been. But like I said, let me know down in the comments below what you think of Skull and Bones and your overall thoughts on it. Till the next one, guys. See ya.